All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar today. Today we're going to talk about the website. So we're going to touch on where you go to access your website, how you enhance your website, and then we're going to talk about some services at Longwolf that we actually help you with doing everything I talk about. So going through this, I know in the past we've mentioned Wolf Connect and Global Wolf to you all, but just so you can, the difference between the two is Wolf Connect is where you're going to log on to access your website, and then everything with the Global Wolf has to do with your website. So I'll show you exactly where those are. So you're still going to log into the Wolf Connect system, just as we showed you in past webinars. Today we're just going to focus on the Web Manager tab. So if you think of Web Manager website, just remember that's where you're going to go. So just so you know too, with the websites, they are all mobile websites as well. So a lot of times now everyone is on their phone, so we just want to make sure that they are mobile friendly and user friendly. Also, with the call to action, you'll notice here is that consumers want their information fast. So if they see something they like, being able to click on that call now button, and it's going to go directly to your number, is something that is really great. So that's in there as well. And then again, the services we provide at Longwolf, which we'll talk about at the end of the presentation. Now this SeriousAgentTools.com, this is a website that you can go to at any time. Just a great resource to use when you're setting up your website. It has free webinars on there. We have frequently asked questions. We have tip videos. So just a couple different things that just can help you get a better understanding of the Longwolf tool. And then this is my contact information here. This agents@lwolf.com email address goes to myself as well as our entire agent support team. So you can always email that email address with questions about Wolf Connect or your website or needing assistance. Someone will always be available to help you out. So I'm going to close that down and I'm going to jump into the live system. Make this a little bit bigger. So we've logged into Wolf Connect, and now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Web Manager. I'm actually logged in as an admin right now, so I'm seeing a couple extra steps. One second. All right, so for example, once you log in here, click on Web Manager, you're going to be taken to this screen here. Now, don't worry about these two tabs in the upper right-hand corner. Those are just, if we need to get into, we'll tell you when to do so, but you're just going to worry about this icon in the center of the screen here. Now, every website has two sides to it. It has the live side, which is what the public sees online, and then it has the staging room, where you go behind the scenes and you add your own videos or pages, things like that. So once I click on this button here, it's going to take me to the staging room. Now, if you haven't set up the site yet, your first thing to do here is going to be the website wizard. So it's basically just an 8-step process of the most necessary steps of setting up a website. And this takes you about 5 minutes, which I'm going to run through right now with you. So each step is going to explain to you right here what it's asking you to do. So the first step is choosing our template. And nothing you do in here is you're going to be stuck with. You always have the ability to change these things. You can scroll through. You'll see we have over 50 different templates in our system. So there's quite a few to choose from. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and select maybe this one. And then I can go to the next one. The next step here is my personal information. So it's already going to pull your contact information that's pulling from Wolf Connect, but then you can change what you want displayed on your website. So maybe you don't want your office number, just your mobile phone. Or maybe you go by a nickname that everyone knows you. You want that to be displayed on your website. You can control that and change it however you'd like. Next step. So once you log into the Wolf Connect system, you're going to click on the Web Manager tab. And once you've clicked on that, it's going to take you to this landing page here. So you're going to notice a couple of different buttons. These ones in the upper right-hand corner, don't worry about those. Those are just for if we need to get into them, we will. But you just need to worry about this icon in the center of the screen. So every website has two sides to it. It has the live side, which is viewed by the public. It's on the web pages, and then you have the staging room, which is where you come in behind the scenes and you can make changes to your site, like adding videos, pages, and things like that. So I'm going to click on this button here, and it's going to take me to that staging room. Now, if you haven't set up your site yet, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to go through these 8 steps, which are basically just a simple 8 steps to setting up the site. And it's going to tell you exactly what it's asking you to do at each step. So our first step here is selecting a template. And so I'm just going to click a template. We have over 50 different templates in here for you to choose from. And I don't want you to think that templated-based websites is going to look like everyone else's. The only reason why we have the template sites is because we want to make them user-friendly, always thinking about the consumer. But then within the templates, you have the ability to add your own pages, photos, videos, things like that, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And you can always come in and change your template. Our design team is actually always uploading new templates, so maybe a couple months down the road, you want to give it a new look, you can come in here and change your template, and everything will pull over to the new one. Then our next step is going to be our personal information. So this is where you control what contact information you want displayed on your website. So maybe you don't want the office line on there, you can remove that. Or maybe you want to add in a nickname, things like that, to control what's displayed on that homepage of your site. Next is going to be your photo and homepage content. So your photo, if it's not added, make sure you do add a photo there, because this is the part that is also going to show up on the Reliant website. So everyone has an online business card on that website. And so you want to make sure there's a photo there so that if someone does go on that Reliant Realty website, there's a photo next to your name. And then here, if I click on homepage content, I can change that homepage content on the homepage of my website. If you want to add a little profile about yourself, or even just put a video on there, then you can change as well. And then next is going to be my Realtor profile. This is another thing that will also show up on the Reliant Realty website, as well as your contact page on your individual website. So something that you don't have to fill in, but if you want to give a little profile about yourself, you can do that there. Next is going to be your map settings. So all of your websites have that full IDX feed set up for you, and then they all have the Bing map search. So what it's going to do here is it's automatically going to default to where we're located, but maybe you sell most of your real estate in Brentwood. So I can actually zoom in all the way down to the areas that I sell most of my real estate in. What you can also do with this map search is maybe you have an open house for the next week or so. You can zoom all the way down onto that open house, so when a user is on your website, they click on the map search, that's what they're going to see first. That's what their eyes are going to default to. So something that is great to use in listing presentations and just to help get the word out. And then the user can obviously just search the map normal, but that's just what they're going to see first. And then next here is going to be the registration settings. So I know we've all been there before, where we've been on a website, we see something we want to learn more about, we click on that link. And as soon as we click on the link, something pops up and says, we need to know your first name, last name, email address, credit card number, all that. So what do? You leave the site. You have to keep in mind that when a consumer is going in online to find information, they're going to find it no matter what. So if they can't find it on your site, or if it's too hard to find it on your site, they're going to leave it and find it somewhere else. So you want to make your website as consumer-friendly as possible, and a big part of that is this registration settings. Make them feel comfortable on your site, and then we can talk about some different ways to capture those leads later on. So just make sure in here everything is defaulted to no, that they don't have to register right away. We'll talk about some ways to change that around a little bit too. And then next thing here is the search engine optimization. And I'm actually going to hold off on this area and talk about it a little bit later, but this is just where we're going to fill that part in. And again, I'll talk more about what that means. And then your last step is to just add in your domain name and push your site live. So when you are ready to go live with the website, you'll just need to notify us so that we can assist you with pointing the domain name and pushing your site live. So we at Lone Wolf don't do anything with domain names, we just host them. So if you haven't purchased a domain name yet, I would recommend going to GoDaddy and doing it. If you already have purchased a domain name, you'll just let us know and we can point it to our Lone Wolf domain servers. So once you've done this and gone live with your website, you're no longer going to see these steps. You're going to be taken to this screen from now on. This is where you can really get more advanced with your website, start customizing everything. You're going to see that here. So now what I like to do, now that we're on the enhancement tools, is I'm going to walk you through these tabs on this left-hand side and explain to you what they mean. Before I do that, I do want to draw your attention to these buttons up here. So one being this select template. I mentioned before that you're never tied to the template that you choose. This is another area where you can scroll through all of our different templates we have. And you can always just preview it, and it's going to look exactly as it would if it were a live site. So already pull your photo, your contact information, everything over. Let me cancel that one out. This preview tab, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but very important. So before you push anything live, you want to preview it to make sure all of your links work, your videos work, things like that. And then the Go Live button is when everything here is going to be published to the live site. So starting from the bottom, this is how I like to set up my site. I start from the bottom and work my way up. The first thing here is the Web Manager Help tab. So this is where we have video tutorials, tip sheets, documents, just resources to help you with remembering these areas, what these tools are. I know a lot of the time it's easy to remember now, so when you log in later you might forget where to click on what or what something means. So hopefully these tutorials will help you out. Next thing is the website settings. So this is pretty much going through what we already did in our 8 steps, but also an area where you can change that. So again, click on website settings. It's going to show you first the register settings, which before we defaulted to no, the user does not have to register. But we might see that maybe a couple months down the road, we're getting a lot of traffic on our website, but I haven't generated any web leads. So what you'll want to do is you can come in here and say, okay, you can see 6 listings. So then after that 6th listing, then you do have to register. So that's a way that you can experiment with it a little bit. Scrolling down says website sharing here. So if you're a member of a team and you want to make this a team website, we can do that as well. The first step to doing that is just typing in your team member's name. So then the system knows to pull both MLS IDs. If you are setting up a team website, the best thing to do is just to let us know, because there are a couple extra steps to doing so we can help you to make sure it's all set up correctly. Then scrolling down more, this is just another area where you again can change your photo. Now, every page we're going to be on has a save button, and it's really important to click on that save button every time you make a change in the staging room. Not only because we don't want any of your work to go away, but also because, for example, maybe you're working in here, creating a page, and then you realize you have a meeting. So you can save it, close everything down, come back in when you have more time and finish everything up. Also, if you're in here working and you run into any sort of challenge, then you can contact me. And because you've been hitting save up until then, we can see where you maybe got stuck on. So the save button is really important. If you don't know if it works, click it again. If you still don't know if it works, you can just sit there and keep clicking it just to make sure. Next is agent settings. So another area again where you can control the contact information that's on your website. So pulling over any information we have from Wolf Connect, you can also just add it in. It doesn't have to be on this right-hand side, but just controlling what you want displayed. Next is web statistics. So we at Lone Wolf integrate with Google Analytics, and what that is it's a way to track all the activity on your website. So you saw through that 8 steps that it is really easy to get a site live and going, but a big part about having a website is making sure it is enhancing your business and it's doing something. We know it's important to have an online presence, but it's also important to have an online presence that mirrors if a person were to talk to you face to face, or if they were to go online and look at your website. We want them to have the same reaction. So making sure that having a Google Analytics is really important with determining what areas on your website to enhance and make changes to each month. So this is completely free, and we can help you with setting up this account. Once you have your account set up, you can click on this link here, and it'll take you to that account, where you can then see charts of how many visits you've gotten this past month, what pages they're looking at, the bounce rate, so how long they're on your site for, and then you can take that information and determine what things you need to change to make sure your website is, again, enhancing your business. This business stat over here is basically the same thing, but it does cost, I think, about $20 a month. And we use Google Analytics at Lone Wolf and love it, so I always recommend the free stuff, and Google Analytics is great. So adding that is important. SEO default. I showed you this in the 8 steps, but wanted to talk more about it over here. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and the best way to describe this is you're basically telling the search engines out there that you have a website. So we want you to pop up when someone's online and they're searching on Google. We want your website to come to the top if they're searching for a real estate website. That's our goal. So to do that, you have to tell the search engines that you have the website. I'm actually going to open up Google here so I can show you more about what these 3 areas mean. And search engine optimization is something that we could talk about for 3 hours. For the sake of time and keeping you all interested, I'm just going to give you the gist of this, but we do provide free online webinars on just search engine optimization. So you want to make sure that when you're in here that these 3 areas are filled out. Site title, keywords, and description. So first, site title, I'm going to jump over to Google, and I'm going to search homes in Denver. Now once I do that, all these different things pop up. Now these links that come up that I can click on, those are the site titles. So going back over to our web manager, you want to make sure the site title is something that stands out. Just the same if you were to write an article, you want to give it a title that makes the user want to read that article. Something that stands out, to the point, exactly what they're going to see if they click on that link. Next is the keyword. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky because we're trying to determine what words they're typing into the search to get to my website. So you might think for that, okay, easy, I'm just going to put in every keyword that has to do with real estate, where I'm located, and I'm going to for sure pop up. And that's not necessarily how Google works. You want to keep this area about 6 to 10 keywords or phrases, which doesn't sound like a lot, but just trying to be as specific as possible. So something that's going to set yourself apart from all the other real estate websites out there. So important to have your brokerage in there, your name. Your name is the best way to separate yourself from other people. Your first last name in there, adding some specific neighborhoods or areas that you sell the most real estate in. And again, just keeping it really short. This is something that you're going to want to come in and enhance and change every couple months. And really, once you've done this and filled in these 3 areas, you want to give it about 2 months to work. If you see that you're not getting any visits from the search engines, then we'll come back in here and change some of these things around. And we do have a lot of helpful tools that helps you with determining what are the most searched keywords out there and things like that to help you with getting it set up. But just making sure you have some filled in. Next is a description. So going back over to Google, this below, right here, that's the description of this website. So again, you want to keep it very short. For example, this one has this ... That's telling us that this description was too long. So Google actually cut them off, and they didn't get any credit for any wording after that. So keeping it very short. Now, it's important, too, with these 3 areas, the more repetitive you are, the better. So, for example, up here I have, let's see here, homes in Denver, Colorado, and then my name at the end. And then down here I have Denver, my name, and then down here I can have real estate resource for homes in Denver. So keeping it very repetitive between those 3 areas is better. Again, this is something that we can experiment with and talk about for hours, but just make sure you have something filled in. Now this area is very broad too because we're talking about our website as a whole, but we also have these tools for every individual page on our site as well as every individual listing. So that's where you can really get more specific in terms of what exactly is on your site. So here you're being a little bit more broad and it's a little bit harder, but I will show you how you can do it for each page as well. So make sure those 3 areas are filled in. Don't worry about anything down here. That's all going to be automatic, and then just hit save. Next thing here is the map setting. So just another area for you to move that map around. Anytime you do change it, make sure you hit use current map position, show this position, and then hit save. Next thing in here are our web forms. Now web forms are really important because it's going to be how you capture leads, which I hope is a goal for all of you to do on your website. So, for example, a web form is you're providing content to the user, so then at the end of that is a place where they can fill in their information and submit it, which would then be a new lead for you. So, we actually have a bunch of web forms in here that we've already created for you to go in and use. I'm going to show you what one of these look like. So maybe this for buyer's web form. Now, everything on the right-hand side of this page down here is what's going to be displayed on the web form. Everything on the left-hand side is what you can add or change. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to preview this web form. So it says, for buyers, has this photo, has some content, some links I can click on, and then down here is our questions. So this is where the user would fill in their information, answer these questions, and then hit send. Once they've hit send, that's a new lead for you. It's been sent to your phone or email address that you can then accept and then start working with a specific person. So maybe this web form looks great, but maybe you want to add some additional questions in here, which you can do, or you can just start from scratch and create your own web form. Now, I mentioned over here is where you can edit the web form. So, for example, maybe I want to know this person's address. I just click on the arrow, scroll down, I'm going to choke down here, and I can move this question up to wherever I want it to display. So as you can see, it's very user-friendly in here. It just takes some time to play around with. So you control the order of the questions. You can add as many contact questions as you'd like. Now, we at Lone Wolf require that the user fill in their first name, last name, and email address, just because that's how they begin to track them. But you can also make other questions required too. So maybe you want them to for sure leave their phone number. So once I click on a question, it's going to highlight it, and then down here to the left is where I can edit it. So I can say, yep, I want that one required too. Now, I know we want to know as much information as possible, but you don't want to make too many questions required. That's what's going to scare the user away. Giving them the option to answer these questions is when you're going to find that they fill in the more information. So don't make too many questions required. Just keep that very short. And then going in and asking them whatever questions you want so they have the option to fill them in. So I can add as many contact questions. These new questions are where you can get a little bit more creative. You'll see down here if you're working with another agent. So this is a drop-down question. They can choose from all the different agents. So that's the drop-down option. The text box, if you want to ask a question and give them some room to write in. This text area, similar, but you're just giving them more room to write in, so maybe you know it's going to be a longer answer. Drop down, we already went over. Checkbox, this is great. I click on this arrow, I'm going to pull down here again. And then if I click on that, turn yellow, I can now ask, when is the best time to cheer? So here they have a little calendar and they can actually put in a specific date so you know exactly when to call them. And then, that's for the date and time picker. The checkbox is just asking yes or no questions. So for example, are you a first-time home buyer? They can check the box for yes. So that's where you can get a little bit more creative with your questions in terms of what you want to know. And then after you've done that, created your web form, hit save here. And then what it's going to do once you hit save is it's going to be stored in your library of web forms. So it hasn't actually been added to your website yet. It's just stored here. So going through these areas, we're first creating our content, and then once we've created it, then we add it to our website. That's the web form. Next is the website content. Two things I want to show in here. One is website template, so just another area where you can select a different template. And then also this homepage content. So when you set up a website and you push a site live, we don't want there to be any blank areas. So what we've done is we pull default content for you. So for example, on your homepage of your website, you're going to notice that if you haven't touched it or done anything with it yet, it's going to say something like this. Thank you for visiting my website. For buyers, click here. Sellers, click here. And all that. So you can leave that as is, or you can remove this, and like I said earlier, add a little bio about yourself, or add just a video on this, whatever you want to do. But this is where you edit what's on your homepage. And then, of course, hit save. Next is custom web links. Click on add entry. This is where you can add as many external links as you like. So maybe it's a school district or some preferred vendors out there that you want to add a link onto your website. You can add as many different links on here. Link name is just for your library of web links. When you're adding it to your site, you know which one's which. And then just adding in that URL in here, and then clicking save. So that's all you have to do. Link name, adding URL, save, and it's been stored in your library of web links. Next is custom web pages. Click on add entry here. is a web page is just providing content. We're not then requiring the user to fill in their information. We're just telling them something. Web pages are great for if you want to add maybe a testimonials page or a community links page. Nashville is something that is, has a lot going on, so maybe adding some links to some hotspots to visit. So anything like that. And an important thing to remember with the web pages too is, and when you're creating your website, is they don't have to just be real estate specific. I work with a lot of agents who use this area to show a lot of their hobbies and other things that they do. Maybe they have other jobs, run another business, anything like that. You can also advertise that on your website. I work with a lady out here in Denver, and she actually runs a lot of 14ers, climbs a lot of 14ers, and leads a lot of bike races. So on her website, she advertises that information. Top 14ers to climb in Colorado, top trails to ride. And then when someone's on Google and they're searching top 14ers in Colorado, she also has a chance of coming up because of that, because it's also on her website. So just remembering that it doesn't have to be just real estate. You can have some fun with your website as well. I know we're not all content writers. We don't know sometimes what to put on our website. So we do have a lot of preloaded pages on here that you can use. For example, there's common questions for buyers. It's going to show up in this box here, which is just an HTML box. You've seen it throughout our system, very similar to a Word document. So if you have anything that you've written in the past, you can just copy and paste it into this box here. You click on this little link to make it bigger. And now I can actually scroll through all the content on this page. I can leave it as is, or I can make some changes. Maybe reword some of this verbiage or remove some of it, or I can just add a video in here. That's something I do want to draw your attention to while I'm in here. Is I mentioned this is very similar to a Word document, but there are a couple little things up here that are a little different. One is this film strip. So you can add as many different videos to this site as you'd like. I strongly encourage adding videos. One, because Google owns YouTube, and so anytime we're pulling a YouTube video onto our site, it's going to help us with those search engines. Also, if a person is going to watch a video, they're just going to stay on your site that much longer. There's a lot of consumers out there that don't like to read through stuff. They want to be able to just click on something and have it just talk to them, tell them exactly what they need to know. So you're providing them that information fast so they can just click on that video. Another thing too is if you ever want to put something on your website, maybe it's a funny video, and a user's on your site, they're watching that video, and they want to share it with a friend. Once they share that video with a friend, the friend is not then going to be taken back to YouTube to watch it. They're going to be taken back to your website. So it helps bring more traffic to your site as well. So you can pull any videos from YouTube onto your site. They've already signed away their rights on those videos that anyone can use them. I do recommend watching them before you put them onto your website. Make sure they're exactly what you want. But adding video is really great for those reasons. So you can do that on any page. So closing that, so I've added my page, saved it, and again, now it's going to be stored in my library of web pages. So the last thing to do is we've gone through, we've created our content. The last thing to do is add our content to our website. So I'm going to click on this preview tab first to show you an example of what I'm going to be doing. You'll see here, these are all of our different tabs and drop downs. So you control this navigation. You control what the tabs, you can control what's going to be in the drop down, however you want to set that up based off of the pages and links and web forms you just created. I'm going to close this down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and find the pages I want to put in my site. The first are the system web pages. Those are ones that we have set up for you already. So for example, your featured listings or your listings, those are just automatically pulled from the MLS, so you can pull your listings over, something you probably want to have on your site, wherever you want that to go. So you'll notice these are just drag boxes. You just click on it, pull it where you want it, and keep it there. Scrolling down, if we were to save any of those web pages that we made, they would be displayed here. So we'd click on those boxes, pull them over to wherever we want it displayed. The custom web pages are the ones that were shown in that drop down on those custom web pages start from. So if you just want to use those pages as is and not make any changes to them, you can find them here. For example, that common questions for buyers, click on that, pull that over wherever you want it to be displayed. And so these are all, you can move this if you want this to be a tab at the top, however you want to set that up. Scrolling down, so maybe if we added those web links, we would click on those web links and pull it over to where we want it. Same with the web form. So that's where you are going to just find your content, pull it to your website, and then move it around however you want. So maybe you have a garage sale that you're advertising for the next month. And then after that's over, you want to remove that page. Just come in here and click on this little red button, and it's removed it from your website. Now, it hasn't just completely deleted the page. It's just been stored back over here in your library of pages. You can pull it out again at any time. Also, going back to those web statistics, if we look at those charts and see that maybe a specific page is never getting any visits, so maybe it's not really something you want to keep on your site. You'll come in here and just remove that page. Also, you can go in here and, for example, let's see here, click on this pencil tab. This is where you can change however the page is forwarded on your site. Maybe you don't want common questions, you just want questions for buyers. And then I have this SEO manager. You can click on this and go through those steps that we went through for your website. So here, this is just a page about buyers. So I want to make my site title, my keywords, and my description just specific to buyers. So that's where you can be, get a little bit more in depth in terms of what exactly is on your site to just help you with coming up on the search engine. So if someone goes on, types in buying information in Nashville, hopefully that's something that you'd come up on. So then we've added our content. Then what we're going to want to do is we want to preview our content again to make sure all the links work, the videos work. After we've done that, we're going to save it. And then our last step is to hit go live. So what we've done now is we've published all these changes to our live site. All right? So those are the steps to setting up your website. There is really so much you can do in here. We just went over the gist of it, but if you ever have any questions or you want to know, exactly what some things you can do, please don't hesitate to call us. We can go over that and give you some ideas. Also, I mentioned earlier our mate services, which I'd like to talk about now. So we just developed this department called our mate service department because we realized that, going through that stuff, it may seem like, okay, that's easy, I'm sure I can do that. Or you might think that I don't even want to try it. So we developed this department where you can have your own web assistant, regardless of whether you know how to do that stuff or you don't know how to do it. It's very time consuming, and you don't want to be in front of your computer. You want to be out dealing with buyers and sellers. You can actually hire through Lone Wolf your own web assistant. And it's basically, if I scroll down here, it's split up into 3 different packages, which are just based off of the amount of hours we're on your site each month. And the way it works is every month your mate that you're partnered with is going to go through and either make changes that you want them to make. So maybe you tell them, this month can you link this community links page for me or this testimonials page for me. If you don't have anything for them, then they're going to go through this checklist and do some of their own things to make sure that something's being updated. They're also going to be monitoring those analytics for you. So at the end of each month, they're going to provide you with a report. And they're going to say, okay, this is what we did this month. Here's some of the charts we pulled from your analytics. How many visits you've gotten, how many leads you've generated. And here's our goal for next month. And here are the dates that I'm going to be working on your site. So you know exactly when they're going to be working on it. So if you want to get anything to them, then you tell them what to do. So those are the main services. We don't do any contracts at Lone Wolf, so you can always move throughout the different packages. You can even just sign up for it for maybe 3 months just to get things going, and then cancel it whenever you'd like. We also have our starting kit, and this is actually a great service, and we are giving it to your office for only $199 instead of $249. But it's a great service if you already have a website and you want to maybe switch over to the Lone Wolf site. You might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of work. I've already worked so hard on the site that I have. I don't want to switch everything over. So just hire us and let us be your movers. Just hand us your keys, and we'll pull all of your content, all of your information, to put it onto this new site, and also set up all this other stuff you see here. So nothing in here is mandatory. I don't want you to feel like you have to purchase these things to have a website. We do provide that support as well. If you go to that agent, that website I showed you earlier, or you can always email our agents at lwolf.com email address with any questions, and we'll show you how to do stuff. But these things are just here if you just want someone else to completely take care of it for you. It's always an option. All right? So that's all we have scheduled today. Hopefully this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions,